Okay, in this next part, what we're going to do is, first of all, I'm going to get rid of that horrible red colour in the on the canvas. I only put that on just to show you where the canvas was, but the reality is I'm going to want a bit of a more, I will leave it as a colour, but I'm going to make it a more subtle colour. There we go. And then I'm going to add 4 more buttons. Okay, so I can do a nice little copy paste, but when I copy paste it, it's going to give me errors because look, they've all got the same name. I want to call that one stop button, step button, and bounce button. Now there will be space if you come up with other effects that you want to put on your ones to put them in place. I just realised there's no content on them, so I'm going to add a content tab attribute as well. And again, the IntelliSense here is absolutely amazing. So start, stop, step, and bounce. Now, if I just zoom in there, you'll notice that it's still in one button, and that's because I've put them all in the same place. So now what I need to do is change, oh no, that stays there, change the rows and columns. Oh no, there was this content. Oh, sorry, I've messed up there by adding an extra content attribute. Did think that was odd that there was no content on it. Right, so that should be column 1 and row 0, my mistake. And then that should be column 1, that, row 1, and that should be row 1, column 1. So there we go, start, stop, step, bounce. Okay, so that's the basics of my interface setup. Now what I've got to do is actually create the balls. Okay, so I'll go back to my main window. You'll see in here, this is the constructor. So as soon as the window is created, this gets called. And effectively, whilst we've looked sort of behind the curtain to see where the public void main is, we can think of this as being our entry point. Okay, because when the program starts, it's going to create that main window as its starting point. And as soon as that main window is created, this gets called. So the initialize component, we've seen that's where it sets up all the visual elements. That should be the first thing it does. After here is where we can start doing our setups. Okay, and one of the first things I want to do is create my ball world. Okay, so now again, I did set the project reference. Okay, and if you haven't done that, right click, add project reference, and then make sure you click on your balls library. Okay, and when doing that, I can now do that to get the using. I'm going to set a 100 by 100 world again. Actually, I might make it 500 by 500. Or is that height? I'm going to go with what the size of my what the size of my canvas should be. So let me just remind myself we went for 800 width, 600 height. Yeah, it's 600 by 600. Okay, so that creates my my world, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a random ball to it. I'll take this away. No, I might just leave the random ball on there. So let's go with ball world. No, the world. Sorry, the world dot add ball. Okay, and that gives me just a random ball in the world. Now what I want to do is I want to create a function that will render the balls. Okay, so public void render. Okay, and what this function is going to do is it's going to look through all the balls in the world, and it's going to create front end. It's going to create the graphical objects for them. The first thing I need to do is I've created my ball world here, and that means as soon as this finishes, that disappears. So that's not the correct way to do it. I need to make this an attribute. I need to make this a field of the class. So I need to just pick this up and put it there, and then in there I set it. Okay, and that means you saw the way it's got the little green bluish box. That means it's now a field, and that means it exists here as well, which is what I want. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I need to make sure there's nothing in my canvas. Okay, I'm going to do this. The way we're doing this is a very inefficient way of doing it, but it's a simple way of doing it. Okay, and so if I look at ball canvas dot children, and so the children is a list of all the items that are within the canvas, and I'm going to clear that. Okay, what that does is that just empties the canvas out, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through my all my balls, and I'm going to generate an ellipse object for each ball and put it in the canvas. So for each, and it's going to be ball in the world dot balls. So that does it loops through every ball, and then now what it's going to do is it's going to create an ellipse object. Okay, now I need to make sure I remember all the things you need to do with this. Okay, so first of all we want to set the height and width of the ellipse. Now an ellipse obviously doesn't have to be perfectly circular. We are going to create perfectly circular ones, and that just means the height and width are going to be the exact same, which is going to be the diameter of the ball. So new ball dot width equals ball dot diameter, and new ball dot height equals ball dot diameter. Okay, and then we want to set the color. So new ball dot fill, equals new solid color brush. Now I need to check what the constructor wants a color. Okay, so I need to remember how to do this one. Color dot from RGB. So what that's going to do is from RGB is a static function on the color class, and that allows you to create a color object from a given RGB. And look, they're bytes, and that's why, if you remember back at the beginning, I created the RGB within our balls as bytes. So new ball dot r, no, not new ball, ball. Now the last thing I'm going to do is set the X and Y position. Now this is always a very odd one because I'd expect to set an X and Y position on the ellipse, but because it's relative to the canvas, you actually have to call a static function on the canvas class. It is a really bizarre way of doing this. So canvas dot, and it's set left and set top, and then you give the UI element that you're setting the top or left to. So that's going to be new ball, and then the left, so that's going to be ball dot x pos. I'll just think about my x and y's right there for a second. And then canvas dot set top new ball, comma ball dot y pos. Okay, so that's created the ball. The last thing I want to do is add the ball to my children. So now I go with ball canvas dot ball canvas dot children dot add, and then my new ball, and that should be enough for me to, oh no, I've got to call the render now. Now normally what we'll do is we'll set up timer events so that we get a slow movement of the ball through the world. But just to show that I've created the ball and I've drawn the ball, I'm just going to put in a test call to render as soon as everything's created to show the ball that I've just added. And this is literally just a test, basically. And when we run that, we should hopefully see that the ball appears. Hope this works. There we go. And now it's just put a random ball drawn on the screen, just one simple random ball. And at this point, just to almost prove your point, you could call add ball 2, 3, 4 times. You'll see 4 balls appear on the screen. There's no motion, no movement, anything like that, because we haven't added our animation yet, but we've just shown that we can create a ball and we can draw on the screen.